The footage was grainy, shot on a handheld camera by someone who clearly wasn't supposed to be there. For decades, it remained buried, passed between collectors, dismissed by some as fabrication, protected by others who understood exactly what it contained. But in 2019, a portion of that footage surfaced, and what it showed was enough to reignite a debate that had smoldered since 1964. Before the global fame, before the yellow tracksuit, and before the be water philosophy became a boardroom cliché, Bruce Lee was a man in crisis. In 1964, he wasn't a legend. He was a radical 23-year-old in Oakland, California, running a school called the Jun Fan Gung Fu Institute. He was doing the unthinkable, teaching the sacred secrets of Chinese martial arts to anyone with the heart to learn, regardless of their race. In the eyes of the San Francisco Chinatown elders, this wasn't just a breach of etiquette, it was a betrayal of blood. They didn't send a letter of complaint, they sent a threat, disguised as an invitation to a duel. The ultimatum was simple: stop teaching the white devils, or close your doors forever. The challenge didn't arrive with a shout, it arrived with a bow. A formal emissary walked into Bruce's gym on a Tuesday afternoon. He carried a single sheet of paper that carried the weight of 1,000 years of tradition. James Lee, Bruce's close friend and a veteran of the local scene, felt the air leave the room. He knew this wasn't a friendly sparring match. This was an execution of a career. Bruce, dripping sweat from the heavy bag, didn't flinch. He read the scroll, looked the messenger in the eye, and asked the one question they didn't prepare for. "And if I win?" The man was stunned. In the rigid world of 1960s kung fu, you didn't ask what happened if you won, you apologized for being a nuisance. "If you win," the man replied, "you may continue, but if you lose, you leave Oakland and never teach again." Bruce didn't consult a lawyer, he didn't ask for time to think, he simply said, "I'll be there." The man they chose to silence Bruce was Wong Jack Man. To understand Wong is to understand the pinnacle of classical martial arts. He was a master of northern Shaolin, elegant, precise, and steeped lineage. He was the correct way to fight. Bruce, with his fencing-inspired footwork and obsession with American boxing, was the wrong way. When they met in that small, suffocating gymnasium in Oakland, only a handful of people were allowed to watch. Among them was Bruce's wife Linda, who sat in the back, feeling a tension so thick it felt like it could be cut with a blade. Before the first punch was thrown, Wong Jack Man attempted to claim the moral high ground. He spoke of ancestors, of respect, and of the worthless nature of a man who sells his culture for attention. He called Bruce a man without a soul. Bruce didn't respond with words. He stepped onto the floor with a stillness that wasn't peace, it was a predatory focus. When the fight began, the observers expected a ballet. What they got was a car crash. Wong Jack Man took a textbook stance, his weight perfectly balanced, his hands forming a traditional guard. Bruce didn't take a stance at all. He just walked toward Wong like a man heading to the kitchen for a glass of water. It was terrifyingly casual. Wong fired a snap strike to test the range. In any other fight, it would have landed, but Bruce wasn't there. He had slipped the punch by a fraction of an inch and was suddenly inside Wong's personal space, not hitting, just occupying the air Wong thought belonged to him. The match quickly devolved from a technical display into a desperate scramble. Wong was fighting for the honor of China. Bruce was fighting for his right to exist. Bruce unleashed a straight blast, a vertical chain of punches that moved like a piston. Wong, used to the rhythmic give and take of traditional sparring, had no answer for the sheer volume of aggression. Wong tried to run. He literally began to circle the room to catch his breath, with Bruce chasing him down, shouting for him to fight back. Finally, Bruce caught him. A short, brutal hook to the liver sent Wong to one knee, the air escaping his lungs in a guttural sob. The prodigy of the old world was shattered. The fight ended with Wong on his back, staring at the ceiling, while the elders stood in a silence that felt like the end of an era. Most people think this is where the story ends. Bruce won, the school stayed open, and a legend was born. But the truth is much darker. As they drove home, Bruce wasn't celebrating. He was fuming. He was vibrating with a strange, quiet rage. Linda asked him what was wrong, reminding him that he won. It took too long, Bruce snapped. He had won in 3 minutes, but in his mind it should have been 30 seconds. He had felt his lungs burning. He had felt his movements becoming heavy. He realized that the styles he had spent his life practicing had failed him in the chaos of a real fight. He had won because of his spirit, not because of his technique. That night, Bruce Lee didn't go to sleep. He went to his desk and began to tear his own life apart. He started writing in his notebooks, crossing out ancient techniques he now deemed ornamental or dead. He realized that tradition was a graveyard if it didn't evolve. He began to strip away the flowery movements of Kung Fu, replacing them with the brutal efficiency of street fighting and the scientific precision of biomechanics. This was the secret moment that changed everything. The fight with Wong Jack Man was the catalyst for Jeet Kune Do, the way of intercepting fist. Bruce stopped being a Kung Fu master and became a martial scientist. He began running miles every morning, lifting weights like a bodybuilder, and studying films of Muhammad Ali to understand the dance of combat. He told his students that everything he had taught them the month before was wrong. He was willing to look like a fool to find the truth. He discarded the idea of styles entirely. To Bruce, a style was a prison. He wanted to be like water, formless, capable of crashing or flowing depending on the vessel. Wong Jack Man lived out his life as a respected teacher in San Francisco, rarely speaking of the night he lost to the Oakland upstart. He maintained his dignity, but he remained a man of the past. Bruce Lee, fueled by the insult of being called worthless, became the most influential martial artist in history. He didn't just win a fight in a dusty gym, he won the right for every person on Earth to define themselves on their own terms, free from the shackles of how it's always been done. The grainy footage of that era reminds us that greatness isn't born in the moments of victory, it's born in the moments of dissatisfaction that follow. Bruce Lee's greatest secret wasn't a hidden move or a mystical power. It was his courage to look at his own success and see a failure, and then have the audacity to reinvent himself from the ashes. The world remembers the man who could break boards, but the martial arts world remembers the man who broke tradition so that the rest of us could finally breathe.